Well, when Denise Bradley asked me to give this talk, I wasn't overly enthusiastic, but I'd like to welcome you all here to Surfers Paradise, and the weather seems to have been kind to us. So today I'm going to be talking about community veterinary clinics and the model that we've sort of developed here on the Gold Coast and how it might apply to your circumstances wherever you are in Australia or even overseas. What I would like to say is our model is descriptive and not prescriptive, and you can vary it, change it, alter it to whatever size or dimension you want to do to suit your circumstances. But here on the Gold Coast we have 600,000 people, and our main Gold Coast community veterinary clinics is suitably sized to service that population. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is what is a community veterinary clinic, the AWL model for Queensland, how an organisation can establish a community veterinary clinic, what facilities you need, how you can operate one, and I'm going to give an example of a successful financial model, and also what you can achieve through the establishment of a community veterinary clinic. So what is a community veterinary clinic and how does it differ from normal commercial veterinary clinics? It really differs from a normal commercial veterinary clinic in that its goals are not profit orientated, but are focused on the welfare of animals and providing service to the public regardless of the financial status of the customers. The AWL operates two community veterinary clinics in Queensland, one on the Gold Coast, which was our first one, and one in Ipswich, and we also supply support to the Getting to Zero community veterinary clinic in Hobart. And our Gold Coast clinic opened to the public in early 2002. Now, that followed a change in the Veterinary Surgeons Act of Queensland in 2001, which allowed non-veterinarians to operate a veterinary clinic. Prior to that, you had to be a veterinary surgeon to own or operate a veterinary surgery, but that was a major change, and I remember Denise Bradley coming to me and saying, we're thinking of opening to the public, but I'm worried about, everybody tells me we're going to lose lots of money if we do. And I remember my reply was that if we manage it properly, we won't. And in the 12 years since then, we've never made a loss operating the community veterinary clinic, and at the same time, during that time, we've been able to do a lot of charity to the community. Now, goals of a community veterinary clinic is to look after the welfare of sick and injured animals, to provide low-cost, affordable veterinary services to the community, and certainly low cost does act as a magnet to draw people to your facility. There's nothing like saving money than to bring someone to your door, and certainly it was a big thing that drew a lot of people to our hospital very quickly early in the piece, and we went from one vet to 15 vets very quickly. Now, we want to offer low-cost desexing to encourage desexing of dogs and cats and to reduce euthanasia due to overpopulation. And we want to provide an income which can be used for charitable work. Now, it's no good running a community veterinary clinic if you're going to lose money, because you're not going to have the income to pay for your charity work. So a community veterinary clinic is a combination of private veterinary practice and welfare work in the one operation. And the idea is that the profits you make from your private practice goes back to paying for your welfare work and at the end of the day making a profit which can be used for your charity. Now, in the case of the AWL, all the shareholders have 4 legs and a tail, so the more money we make, the better it is for them. We have a no turn-away policy. That means that no animal that is sick or suffering is refused treatment regardless of an owner's capacity to pay. And we get animals' cases referred to us from other veterinary surgeries where people go to them and it's got to have a caesarean or it's got a broken leg and they can't afford to pay. They can come to the AWL and we're going to take them in regardless. Now, we provide credit in the form of payment plans for veterinary services. Now, I don't know the situation where you come from, but here on the Gold Coast, not many practices provide any credit at all. Now, we're committed to keeping costs of veterinary services affordable, so we're generally a little bit cheaper than other private practices. And we provide charitable discounts for owners with financial difficulties. A couple of weeks ago, I had a little old lady come in and she had a little old dog that was sick and she didn't have any money. She had no home and she was offered housing, but she couldn't take a dog, so she chose to live in a car rather than surrender the dog. Now, we treated the dog pro bono and the dog made a recovery, and Topsy came in a couple of days ago and he seems to be doing better than I am. Now, establishing a new facility. You can establish a new facility, you can modify an existing facility, or you can buy another practice. Now, if you're going to start a new facility, the size of your facility is going to depend on the community that you service, and also is going to be very important on what it's going to be like in 5 years or 10 years' time. If you're going to build a new building and you're going to grow out of it in 3 or 4 years' time, it's going to cost you a lot of money to change that. So maybe you need to do your feasibility study and determine how much your building is going to cope, not today, but in 5 years' time if you're going to be successful. Now, you don't have to build a huge building. It really needs to be tailored to the community that you're servicing. Now, you need to register that with the State Veterinary Board in Australia. And here in Queensland, there are 3 registrations. There's consulting rooms, which are inappropriate. There's veterinary surgeries, which is what we use as our registration. And there's also veterinary hospitals. Now, veterinary hospitals have to be accredited, and it's a lengthy, involved process. It takes about a year to organise. And I really think that our model is best suited to using a veterinary surgery accreditation. You have to submit your plans to the State Board. So I strongly recommend that you look at what's required before you go building anything. You don't want to be building a building and then find that your radiology department doesn't meet standards and you've got to pull down half the building. Now, there are specialist veterinary hospital consultants who can assist in the planning and design work. They're not hard to find. You'll see them advertising at any veterinary conference. And if you don't know who they are, just ask a vet and they should be able to point you in the right direction. So you can have the registration as a veterinary hospital or as a veterinary surgery in Queensland. And we think that veterinary surgery is the most suitable classification for the model that we're using. Now, how much does it cost? I hope this doesn't put some people off, but as I said, you can vary it to what you need. But a large modern veterinary hospital might have a construction cost of $1 to $1.5 million. But you can certainly modify a smaller building, such as a house, at a much lower cost. And of course, rental buildings would be you can rent a building at a normal commercial rate of about 5 to 10%. The other option is to purchase an existing veterinary clinic, and this has certain advantages in that they've already got all their permits, they've already got their staff, they've already got a clientele. All you have to do is sign the cheque and walk in and take over. The other expense, of course, is equipment. Now, this is an example of the sort of equipment you need in a large veterinary hospital, and it comes from one of our veterinary hospitals, the newest one, and it's fairly extensive. So you can see there's all the inventory of equipment, medical equipment, non-medical equipment, computers, $40,000 for computers, furniture and fit out, another $40,000, supplies, about $30,000. So you look, it comes to a total for a large hospital of about $350,000 to $400,000. But I can tell you in 1975, I set up a small veterinary clinic in West Meadows in Melbourne with $5,000. But times have changed. Okay, staffing. In our Gold Coast Hospital, we have 3 veterinary directors, one of whom is our practice manager, Simone Chamelski, who's sitting here somewhere. And we have a client liaison officer. I can't stress that I think a client liaison officer is a bit of a new role and how important it is. She's the person who manages the payment plans, the credit to our clients, and liaises with our clients on a daily basis to see who generally deserves charity, who deserves a payment plan, and who can afford to pay for their fees up front. Our veterinarians are a mix of senior vets and who usually 5 years experience or more, and junior vets. And we have a full team of nurses and receptionists. I think we have three receptionists on every day during the daytime, and another crew at night. And of course, our animal attendants. Now, some of the obstacles, hurdles you might find along the way when you go to, if you go to start one of these clinics, is that the local vets won't like you. And I know when we started 12 years ago, they behaved like we were going to take the bread away from their children. But they're still driving their BMWs, and they haven't gone broke, and we haven't taken away all their businesses. And they're also worried that we'd provide a lower standard of vet care to the public. And I think that's quite interesting because we have an orthopaedic surgeon consultant on board, and we have a consultant ultrasound on board, and we have 13 vets work, and one of our new vets who came on board recently said to me, I think I might have to pull my socks up. So in no way do we have a low standard of service. And when people come to you, regardless of whether they're paying you a low fee or a high fee, they expect to get looked after. And they certainly don't expect to get a low standard of service. And some people think that you devalue the standing of vets by offering lower prices. Well, I don't think so. Some people argue that free or cheap desexing will not solve the problem of perceived excess of numbers, but some of our AWL people will show you figures that our euthanasia rates have substantially dropped in the last 10 years. And some people will say that people can't afford standard veterinary fees, shouldn't own a pet. Well, you can make your own mind up about that. Now, running a community veterinary clinic is pretty similar to running a normal commercial veterinary clinic. It needs to be managed like a business. And I remember a long time ago looking at a P&L from another welfare clinic, and they were losing an enormous amount of money. And you can't provide charity and welfare work if your private side of your practice is losing money. So the role of the practice manager and the client liaison officer is critical in getting the balance right between the amount of private practice that you do that generates your profit that goes towards subsidising your welfare work. It's cute, that dog. I think W.C. Field said never make films with children or animals. I think he's right. Now, we don't means test because we think, we're a busy place and it's pretty difficult to, inquire into people's financial status without causing them embarrassment. And we think it's unfair to discriminate against low-income earners. People can afford to pay, will take advantage of financial assistance. That's been suggested to us, but we generally find that that's probably untrue. Now, we don't offer free treatment as a first option. Otherwise, you'd have everybody taking advantage of it. But our client liaison officer works to work out a plan for those people who want to go on a payment plan and determine those who need charity. And it makes it really easy for the vet if they can concentrate on the veterinary side of things, and when it comes to the financial side, they can pass that on to Gabby, our client liaison officer, who will handle that. Now, we offer payment plans for medical conditions that require urgent attention, so we don't offer payment plans for vaccinations or non-urgent conditions, elective procedures. And this is just an example of one of our clinics as a model, successful model, to give you a bit of an idea of turnover. And again, I can't stress enough, this is descriptive and not prescriptive. It's every one of you is going to have a different situation, and some of you will be bigger and some of you will be smaller. But we operate 7 days a week. We have late night weekday trading, and we're open all day Saturday and Sunday on the Gold Coast. We see between 80 and 100 visits a day, and we do about 50 dissections a week. We have 33 full-time staff made up of about 12 or 13 vets, 13 nurses, 6 receptionists, a client liaison officer and a practice manager. Now, if you look at the total revenue generated, this gets back to what I was talking about needing to have a balance. So you can see that we turned over nearly $4 million and we gave $456,000 worth of payment plans, or about 11% of our turnover. Now of that we included $582,000 odd of charity. $249,000 was to the community, and $312,000 was work that we did for the shelter that we have as part on site. So by that I mean we did national desexing work, pound desexing, and provided veterinary support services to the shelter. So that comes to was 14%, or nearly $1 million of charity work involved in the hospital. So after that deducted, we came to a cash income of $337,000. Our cost of sales was about $1 million, or 26%. Our wages was nearly $2 million, or 50% of our income. And our overheads were $234,000, or 6%. So that left a profit of $133,000 to the tail waggers. So you can see that the whole organisation the community veterinary clinic made $133,000 of net profit at the end of the day. But what it also did, importantly, is that it gave $456,000 worth of credit to people who couldn't afford to come and see the vet. Without that credit, their animals probably wouldn't have got treated. And we also did $562,000 of charity work, people who didn't have any money, and support services to our shelter. So the benefit is multiple, and it's not just the bottom line. And I think that table demonstrates really what community veterinary clinic, the guts of it, financial thing, is all about. And the importance of getting the balance right. You don't want red ink right the way down, otherwise you won't be in operation very long. So what can you achieve with a community veterinary clinic? You can promote low-cost desexing and getting to zero. You can use it to educate the public in welfare issues, and we have little puppy packs with all sorts of brochures in them and that we give to our clients, and signs around about microchipping and all sorts of things, and desexing. You can generate funds for your other charitable services, as that last slide showed. And you can act as a referral centre for other surgeries to refer customers to you who can't afford veterinary services. And we get people come to us from all over the Gold Coast. So most importantly, it's a place where animal welfare is the primary function to the community. And we've now operated 3 clinics now for quite successfully for some time, and I hope that this model is some benefit to some of you. Thank you.